experience is the experiment.
Today's guest is an artist who hails from Seattle, Washington, but has since made his way to Los Angeles, California. Throughout his journey to success, he has seen the world from the eyes of the stage, performing songs like Super in Love and his new single, 2 a.m., dropping May 11th. Please welcome today's guest, Max Bennett Kelly.
Hello.
What's going on, brother?
Not too much. Thank you for the introduction. That was cool.
Of course.
That was cool.
Did I get it all correct?
Yeah, all of it. Except Seattle. I'm from a suburb of Seattle.
Where about?
Called Kent.
Kent?
Yeah, it's a little bit. I was just actually back home. I got back Tuesday morning from Seattle.
Welcome. What were you doing?
Kent. I just went to go say hi to the fam. I think we're gonna have to put my dog down too, so I wanted to say goodbye to my dog.
Oh man,
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's very sad. Very sad.
I've been there a few times, unfortunately.
Yeah, it happens. It's like the circle of life, I guess, but it's weird.
Move this just a little bit closer to you.
Oh, hello. But yeah, I was just went back home, visited. I hadn't been back since before Christmas, and then I probably won't be able to go back until I guess fall or something. So
not a bad flight though, right?
No, it's so easy.
That's so
nice.
easy.
It's 2 hours.
Oh, unreal.
Yeah.
So was that the first time that you went back since moving out here in 2020? You said.
Yes, 2020. But no, I go back once or twice a year.
Oh,
and
okay.
Then, yeah. Because it's easy, It's
Are you close with your family out there?
Yeah, super close.
Awesome.
I have a huge family on both sides, and so it's cool to go back and have that built-in support system. I went back and we had a big family dinner, and food's a big part of the family back home. So,
for you.
Cheers.
And
we shooting this, or are we just sipping it?
Up to you. It's a big one to shoot.
Okay, we'll sip it. Cheers.
Dude, a couple small shoots.
Pairs well with tequila. The Starbucks.
Oh, I'm sure. Dude, tequila goes well with everything. People give me...
Do I need a coaster?
No, you're chilling. People give me so much shit because my favorite drink in the world is tequila with Coke.
Really? With Coke?
With Coke. I don't know why or what happened to me as a child to make me like that drink. But every time I order it, they look at me and they're like, "Are you fucking kidding?"
But it's weird, but then you think about it and it's not really.
What doesn't go with Coke?
I don't know. One time I found this bottle. It's terrible. I was in college and in the stairwell we found this bottle of black liquid. Just like a water bottle. And I was like, should I drink this?
Oh God.
And I did it. I never do stuff like that either. I don't know. I've never have done something like that since.
That's the most college shit I've ever heard.
I know. I was just trying to be funny. I was just trying to make some people I never going to talk to again laugh,
Absolutely.
And then it was definitely some Coke in there, and then grape juice and vodka. It was just so gross. And I took a sip of it. No one laughed. It was terrible.
But now you have the story.
Is it a good story?
It's a good story.
Yeah. I'm proud of it.
I would like to say that I wouldn't do it, but I definitely would have fucking done it. Especially with a few drinks in me, I would have drank that in 2 seconds. Unfortunately.
God, I know. I'm so susceptible to peer pressure. I would have done. They didn't even ask me to. I volunteered.
Have you ever had the vodka or tequila drink when you didn't know and you thought it was water? Like you left it in a water bottle in your car in high school?
I haven't, but I've done that to someone else as a prank.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's terrible.
I did it to myself and it was not a prank.
Oh God.
I was so hungover leaving somebody's house, and the night before my buddy put a bunch of tequila in a water bottle and I didn't know. Got in the car. It was hot as shit in the car. Must have been 90 degrees out. And I just took the biggest gulp.
Oh my God.
And it was one of the most palpable, unbelievably terrible experiences I've ever had in my life. Wow, she's looking for all the attention.
Hey, you want to talk? You have something to say?
She's a good girl.
She is a good girl.
Tell us who you are. Tell us about you for the people that don't know quite yet.
What's up? I'm Max Bennett Kelly. Seattle, from Kent. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. I make music primarily. I like building Legos, hanging out.
You like building Legos?
I like building Legos.
That's so sick.
Yeah, I just built this guitar one. It's pretty cool.
Every time I see somebody on Instagram building them, I'm so jealous. And I'm just like, why don't I just go to this? I'm an adult. I can do that now.
You're allowed to. You can.
I don't have to ask.
They're really expensive.
Are they?
Yes, but here's a little fun fact. I went to go sell some of my old Legos, which now I realize is a cardinal sin, but I did back in the day. And the guy at the Lego shop told me that the price of a Lego brick is more stable than the U.S. economy because it's been $1 per 10 bricks since the inception of Legos. So the price of them has not gone up with inflation.
I guess that's one of the few things that like mass producing, it's only going to get easier because it's just a plastic mold.
But they have so many rules regarding Legos. Did you know this?
No.
Like, there's a whole set of what you can and can't do that's like kosher with the Lego products. Like, you probably, when you were a kid, you fucked with them, like putting them, like the skinny ones, in between the little dots on a brick or whatever. But you're not allowed to do that. And all the products have to be like specifically made so that they're used, so that they work perfectly together. And
I guess if you fuck forever up one of those circles, that's an unusable Lego.
Right, but that's what they don't want. They want these things to last forever. And so if you use them properly, they're theoretically indestructible. So there's like 10 rules that you can't do with them. And then none of the sets will ever break.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I just watched this episode of MKBHD or whatever his name is, the guy who reviews Marcus. He reviews like tech. And he bought an old iPhone, the first iPhone, on like still packaged for $40,000. And he was like, I don't know if it's going to turn on. And I'm like, it's old, but it's not that old compared to like the amount of shit that my parents have from growing up that works just fine.
But technology advanced so much in the last, how long has it been since the first iPhone came out? What, like 15 years or something?
You couldn't change your background.
Really?
Yeah. Crazy. And you couldn't download apps. Like, it was just a different world. I remember being in the cafeteria in high school, I believe, and I had an Android and some girl, I had like some old LG or whatever, and some girl came up to me and she goes, look what I can do with my Android. And it's when you could put it up to the sky and like see the stars or whatever.
Very cool.
And some other person goes up to her and goes, look what I can do. And she opens up her phone. It's an iPhone. It was like the first time I ever saw one. And I was like, what the fuck? This is never going to catch on.
It could be the thing, like they had the app where you could drink the beer.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Remember that one?
Absolutely. And it just like looks like it's going away.
The lightsaber one?
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Or like before there was a flashlight built in, you have the flashlight app, which is just a white screen.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you have to turn your phone around and you have like the 4 different levels of brightness.
Right?
Wow.
Damn, I was so stoked when I got my first iPod Touch because it was back when I guess like phones were kind of still becoming popular for everyone, you know? And so I was like 13 or 14 and my parents didn't want me to have a phone yet. And so I got an iPod Touch and my mind was just like expanded. I could go on the internet. I could text my friends if I had Wi-Fi. It was amazing.
Do you remember the Firefly phones that came out for a while?
So you could have like 5 contacts.
5 contacts. They like only sold them at like Walmart and Target.
Wow. Probably pretty useful for...
Well, now there's like a new one called like Simple or some whatever name that sounds simple. And it's like the base minimum. You can't have social media on it. You can't have whatever, anything that's like connectivity outside of the internet, texting, and FaceTime, or a version of it. And they're fucking flying. People love them.
Oh, you can FaceTime on them and stuff.
I think you could do like some sort of like video chat thing, but there's not like social media. There's nothing social about it.
I feel like that would be kind of nice to have.
I've thought about it, and I'm like only having the social media on my computer where it's more of a routine to check it, but that's all it is. It's not like this constant thing.
Oh God, it's terrible.
But also if you make your algorithm something that is healthy, like I had a couple months ago, I tried to only look up pictures of animals, like baby videos and like
Wholesome.
Nature. Yeah, I just wanted like, if I'm going to have that dopamine hit in the morning, I want it to be from something that's not a fucking street fight on Instagram.
Right. God, that's just so fun to watch that.
That's my issue is I'll scroll past them and I'm like, don't touch it. And I scroll past and then I go right back up and I fucking hit it.
It's like the forbidden cookie or whatever. No, mine is always just like cringe videos. Like videos of like skits that make you cringe or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's I can't get enough of that. But it makes me terrible because it's just like, I love just cringe humor. I'm just watching these things and I'm like, what am I putting into my brain right now?
Absolutely.
And the whole rest of my day is just going to be spent trying to be as unfunny as possible now.
Well, and any time I watch cringe videos, which is quite often, it's the rest of the day I'm thinking, I'm like, should I have not laughed at that? Like, is that somebody who's having a really shitty day or somebody who has special needs or something? Like, there's so many of them where you don't know.
I guess I'm talking about the ones where they're like purposefully doing a cringe, like they're impersonating someone. Kind of, I don't know why I love that stuff so much. At least my favorite type of humor is like Nathan Fielder or like Larry David and stuff.
Are you a big comedy fan?
I guess so. I feel like specifically just like those two guys.
Do you listen to any stand-up?
Not really, no. Not too much.
That I wasn't too into it for most of my life, but the past 2-3 years, I got so into
What are
it.
you listening to?
Well, so like 3.5 years ago, like right before COVID, a family friend of ours is a comedian. His name's on the wall at the Comedy Store. And he took me there for one of his gigs, and we walked through the back.
Wow.
And 2 seconds in, some guy goes, "You want a hit?" And I look over, and it was Rogan.
Wow.
And so I ended up
In
smoking with,
typical fashion of him.
yeah, I ended up smoking a joint with Joey Diaz, Joe Rogan, and Sarah Silverman.
Wow.
And that was just like having that human interaction where they weren't trying to be anything, but they were still funny. That made me fall in love. And I met like Theo Vaughn, ended up making music for his podcast before he had anybody following him.
Very cool.
It was just very weird.
I think that'd be so much pressure to be funny all the time.
Yeah,
And
but some of these people, it's built in the same way. Like somebody would say it's a lot of pressure to have to make music, but like it can be. But a lot of it is also just like that's what you do.
that's true. But I feel like with music, making music kind of ruins music for me because I'm always thinking about it. I can't really enjoy it anymore.
Yeah.
But I feel like humor is one of the staples of life. So if that was my job and I had to take the, I guess, innocence out of that, that would be terrible, I think. But you're right. Grass is always greener, I'm sure.
But it's also,
People say the same
you're
thing.
right. In fact, like if somebody came up to you and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm an artist," and they're like, "Play me a song." Like nobody's going to do that right away.
Or like sing me something.
but if
couldn't do it.
if you meet them, a comedian, you're going to expect that they're going to be funny
Right.
just off the bat. And most of the people that I met were. And that was the mind-boggling part. It was just like you'd hear them say shit and you're like, that's a hit. That's a golden fucking phrase or whatever you said. But you're just using it in everyday life. Like this is not a moment for you. That's just who you are.
There's a comedian I really like who he's like, his whole thing is making it hard to watch and like cringe, right?
Who is
and I
it?
ran into him. I don't want to say it because it's a story about him. So I
Okay.
ran into him at a party and he was like doing the bit in real life and it was like so painful. And I was like, I don't know if you're joking. I think I'm the butt of the joke right now because that's his whole thing, right? But I'm also like, oh, imagine that being your superpower and you can't turn it off. I
Like
would
the Andy
feel-
Kaufman thing.
Right. Like that would be tough, but also hilarious.
It'd be crazy. It'd be
Yeah.
fucking such an interesting kind of person to be able to hold that like mask up all the time and never forget to put it on when you have to.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of artists are like that, and a lot of people like build this persona that,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I think having that to step into and also to step out of can be super healthy. But also like feeling like you have to be this specific character that you built
Right.
every room you're in because you don't know who's going to be there or how they're going to look at you differently. That just seems tough.
I mean, it definitely is a thing that I relate to. I feel like I've created this sort of character, but I don't know how to step out of it anymore. So it's not like I'm turning it on and off. It's just like I'm getting better about it, though. For sure, being like just I don't want to say myself. I'm always being myself, but I don't know. When I started taking music seriously and really digging deep, along with that, you learn a lot about yourself. Like you have, that's what it is. You know, you learn about yourself. Oh, goodbye, Luna. You learn about yourself and that informs more honest art or whatever.
Yeah.
So then whenever I get stuck or when I would get stuck making music and stuff, I would just think about my own preferences and what I like to wear and
Yeah.
how I want to look. And it felt like building a character, which is always my favorite part of any RPG, right?
Yeah.
So at some point I was like, did I even know myself before I created this character? Or is this the first time I'm getting to know myself? And it's a bit of a trip.
How much of it though is an accentuated version of what's there regardless?
Oh, all of it. But it's almost like I wouldn't have really thought about it before if I wasn't looking for ways to inspire my music. That's how it started, I guess, right? Because sometimes there's answers that you need to find within other aspects of your life to
Absolutely.
help inform what you're going to make. And so I feel like a lot of the time, like I was saying earlier before we started recording, that I don't write at all when I'm outside of the studio, but I kind of am though. Like when I'm going clothes shopping, that's going to inform my next song. Like
Absolutely.
I swear the outfit you're wearing when you're making the music is just as important as any other part of the environment that you're in.
Well, I have this saying that I've been trying to live by, which is for as much time as you keep your head down working, keep your head up 2 times as long to see the story as it's coming. So many people out here, they move here and they have this idea like, all right, I'm putting my life on the line. I'm putting my monetary value on the line. I'm putting my personality in jeopardy. Like, I have to make this work. And then you see people sit down and all they do is make music. And then all of the experience that they have leading up to that gets written about. And then they get to that point where they're like, wait, I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, except making music about making music.
Exactly.
Which is like the worst kind of music. There's some exceptions.
Yeah.
There's some fire songs about making a song.
Well, some people, that's what their talent is kind of explaining the triumphs that you're trying to hit through being a creative. But there's also a lot of people where what they're trying to explain has nothing to do with the creative life. It has to do with the real life, the other side of it that hits, the breakups, the loneliness, the happiness, the all these different things. And that's kind of the beauty of this, is everybody is so different, and you're going to be different tomorrow too.
Yeah.
You have that option. You have that opportunity.
Or you even don't have the choice. Sometimes you wake up and you're different and you're like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
But
and you were in a band before, right?
I was in a band for on and off through most of my like childhood.
What kind of music was that?
Fun music. We did it as kids because we were neighbors, and we were friends first, and smallish community where I grew up, so everyone was walking distance from each other's houses. And my uncle is in a band, and he had an extra drum kit that he asked to store in the basement of my parents' house. And as soon as that was there, that was around when as soon as the drum kit got put in the house, that was around when me and my friends all started joining like band and orchestra in school. And so then, we had a friend who did percussion, so he'd bang on the drums. I played the upright bass, and so then I got a bass guitar, sick. And we would just make music together, but about like the dumbest stuff. Like, we would write songs about, we were just talking about like Celsius. Remember the energy drink NOS?
Wow.
Remember the orange and blue one?
Wow.
We wrote a song about that, I remember, because we were like 13, and we had just drank our first energy drink and stayed awake like through the entire night and just wrote a song about it. But it's just me and my bass guitar, and then my friend, like, we were like singing together. I didn't know how to compose anything, but I was just...
But that feeling of being new and learning with people that are on the same wavelength as you is such a fucking cool, unique experience. How often are you new at something? Especially something that ends up dictating the rest of your life.
That's the distinction. I always try new things, and I get really frustrated because I always want to be like really good at them instantly. But I don't know. I was like a fuck as a kid. I thought when I first started writing songs, I didn't feel like I was new. I thought I kind of knew what I was doing already. I was like, I'm the best ever at this.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know anything about music, right? And then I feel like that kind of mentality actually took me through up until college. We were still doing the band, and we played our first show where we had a proper like sound guy. I could actually hear myself. I started singing, and I was like, is this what I sound like?
Yeah.
I don't know how to sing. I don't know how to... What are these words? I don't even know what I'm playing. I know like 2 chords. I've known 2 chords for 10 years. I don't know anything about making music. And ever since then, it was like, whoa, I spent 10 years at step 1. And then the next step is huge,
Yeah.
So it was...
Spending 10 years at step 1, I think, is a necessity.
Right.
Obviously this whole fucking progression comes in different forms for everybody. Mm-hmm. But so many people go from step 1 to step 10 in a year or a month. And then by the time they get up there, they don't have the proper resources, whether that's knowing what they're doing or how to do it or how to be sustainable. You could be really good at what you do and get really good really fast. But if you don't have ways to make that sustainable, then what kind of career is beautiful and only for a year,
Exactly. What's the point if you burn or fizzle out,
Yeah.
You want to do it forever. I would want to do creative things forever.
Absolutely.
So
the goal. That's why I started this podcast, is I realized the more I based my value off of the sessions and it wasn't even a choice. It was like, you want to pay the bills and you want to make music, then you're going to have to start taking sessions that you're not in love with. Right. And then music turns into this thing where you're sitting there and you're recording, you go, I know I love this, but I fucking hate this moment.
Oh, yeah.
And
like
that
big
is,
picture happy, small picture unhappy.
And sometimes very necessary. And sometimes like that is what is the distinction between somebody who's going to find success in this and somebody who isn't. There's a lot of talents out here. Everybody here is the best from where they came from, you know?
Right.
I was the greatest drummer that I ever knew until I met another drummer. You know, that's just how this goes. But
it just takes meeting one other person and you're like, holy shit.
I had Tosh the drummer on. If you know who he is, he plays with Jaden. He played with Kid Leroy. That's the one. He's played with everybody. He's played with Machine Gun Kelly. He's played with you name it. And seeing him drum, I go, oh, that's a drummer. That's what somebody who that is all they're going to do for the rest of their life for a reason. Mm-hmm. He is so good. And I looked at it and I was like, I'm not willing to put in 10 hours a day of practice. I love it, but it's more cathartic than anything else.
Right.
Somebody who's putting in 10 hours a day sitting behind one instrument and that's all they're learning, they're not spreading themselves too thin. That's somebody who's supposed to be on the biggest stages, who's supposed to be smiling after a show that they knew they killed because they worked their ass off for it. Now we're back after the gear fell more times than necessary, but we're here.
Only one time was necessary. The rest was just...
Yeah, the first time was important. So what were we talking about?
Talking about people who are specializing in one thing and the value of that. And I feel the opposite. And I've been trying to pare down the amount of things that I want to get good at because it's impossible. I don't know. I think I, as a kid, defined myself as someone who could get good at anything. I really took pride in that. But, you know, when you're a kid, like, it's pretty easy to be good at things relative to being a kid, right? And so as you get older, it's like, shit, like, get into anywhere close to mastery anything is a life's work. Why did I think I wanted to be the best at everything I do? And why do I take so much personal insult when I can't? Even I'm doing like yoga and I can't hit the pose. I'm so mad. I'm like, why can't I be like the best at this in this hot yoga session right now? But I'm like, dude, chill. Like, I
think that's part of what separates us from people who aren't doing this and aren't in this creative field. I mean, think about the leap of faith you have to take and the amount of faith you have to have in yourself and your talent or your ability to grow your talent.
Right.
To move out to LA from fucking suburban Seattle.
I thought the world was going to end. I thought I had to.
Yeah.
When COVID happened. Because Seattle was like the epicenter of it. Seattle was like the epicenter of that back in the day. And I worked in restaurants. Everyone was freaking out. They're telling me if I don't go now, then you're going to be like locked in here. We're going to close the borders or whatever. But I feel like that was a nice universe pushing me in the right direction kind of thing. Because I kept making excuses for why I didn't go to LA, you know, right? Because I couldn't take the leap of faith. I was going to go here instead of going to college, but then I ended up going to college. And then...
What'd you go to college for?
School for business economics at the University of Arizona.
Oh, sick. U of A. Both my parents went there.
What a weird coincidence.
Sick campus.
It's amazing. I love Tucson.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I want to go back so bad. It's like the best place in the world.
Camelbacks?
Yeah. Or what else? Mount Lemmon. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mount Lemmon's the one where it's like a fucking 3-hour drive where you're going and it goes from sand to trees to cactuses to snow to...
Yeah, forest. And yeah, it's amazing.
It's one of the coolest drives I've ever done. But I feel like having that universe push is... It's going to come one way or another.
Right.
When, you know, COVID just happened to be yours.
Right.
But having that push, when I was in college, there was never a day...
Go, by the way?
Went to Columbia, Chicago. Cool. Not the smart Columbia. And I dropped out of it too. But I never had the thought of going to LA. It never once hit my head. It was I never looked at LA and was like, I'm going to live there. And I got sick in college. I forget really what it was, but I was in the hospital and I remember having this thought of like,
oh shit,
what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm here to be an engineer. I learned my engineering. I'm working for studios as an intern. And I see what the progression looks like and how much you can learn in a day being in a studio versus being taught what a studio is like. And I felt like I got my deal out of it. I got my money's worth for the time. And I just had this thought, I'm like, I'm going to go to San Francisco and go to school or go to a music school out there. And right when I was looking it up, my buddy texted me, who I haven't talked to in forever. And he was like, yo, you should look at this school I'm trying to go there called Icon. It's in LA. It's a music production school.
Oh, I have a friend who went there.
It was fucking amazing. Who was your friend?
His name's Carrick.
Okay. I didn't make a lot of friends there, so I don't know why I expected to know. But the 2 friends I made, I've lived with for the past 6 years.
Oh, wow. That's all you need.
Or 5 friends. But this thought came to my head, and within, a week and a half, I had my housing, and I was signed up for the school.
Wow, that quick, huh?
Fuck it, yeah.
that's how you know when there's the path forward becomes clear. When
It was amazing, and I learned everything I needed. And I started as a DJ, and
Wow.
so I was touring and like doing my shows and shit. And I was like, this is the place that I'm gonna get to make this a career. Learned what I needed, realized that I fucking am not into EDM, and that's just not the world. I'd rather hear somebody play the wrong note on a guitar than press the right button on CDJs. And that was just me. I respect it. I loved it. I love that feeling of being on stage and not having to worry about an instrument so you can feel the crowd the whole time.
right,
But I also love that feeling of understanding that the only thing getting you where you're going is practice and just getting better at what you're doing. And that's kind of what brought me out here. And it was just that like random, the universe was just like, hey, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna give you a second to think without you having the ability to take that back.
right.
And I thought, and now I'm here.
Wow.
But that leap
Cool.
is so important. I feel like if you move here and you're too comfortable, you're not going to get LA for what it's worth.
No, but then you can. I feel like sometimes I went too uncomfortable when I'm still paying for some of my actions back in the day. But I guess to your point, though, I was always kind of waiting for some sort of universal push, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that meant when I worked at this bar back in Seattle, I was always waiting to. I was always telling everyone I was in a band and was doing music to like get someone to come and discover me or something, like you see in the movies or whatever. Or I was always waiting for something to happen that I would get swept away in, and then would make me quit my job and move to LA. But I don't know. It clicked with me that like you have to quit your job before you make the leap. Like nothing. You're the thing you want to commit yourself to. You're already committing yourself to. It's not like anything that's going to happen that pushes you in the direction except for yourself doing it. And so when COVID did happen, obviously it changed the world, but I was like, has this kind of been what I've been asking for my whole life? Like, when is this going to happen again, where it's almost like this free slate for everyone to go do something they want to do? And like, I already, on one hand, I could think like this is the worst timing ever, like to have a lease that started March 2020. But then I also was like, well, kind of also this is the best timing ever. So yeah, I went and moved into a garage, much like this one, except yours is way cooler. I put turf down in mine.
Oh,
Instead of
badass.
a carpet. And then I built a wall too. Or me and my friends built a wall. But I lived in the garage also. So the wall separated where I slept from the studio.
Oh, that's sick.
But yeah, I was like, it flooded though. It was terrible to live in there. It was cool until it wasn't.
I had a different set 4 weeks ago, and then this place flooded, and I was like, this is my chance. I'm going to rebuild it. So
Whoa, really?
It looks 100% different. It was like hedge walls.
Wow.
And all the colors were different. None of this was here. But again, life was like, hey, yeah, you need to reset, but you're not willing to take the second to get uncomfortable for a second and figure out what that is. And life was like, you're going to do it now.
Yep.
And
the choice is taken away from you. Cool. You're very optimistic. I like that.
Thank you. I'm doing my best.
Cool.
I'm doing my best.
Cool.
So you're coming out pretty soon with a song called 2 a.m.
Yes.
Which I've been lucky enough to hear.
Oh, you did hear it?
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's badass.
You like it?
It was badass.
Yeah.
I'm
love this
excited
one.
for you.
I love this one. It's a fun song. I made that so long ago now. That was the summer of 2021 when I wrote that one. And I was always sitting on it. I was like, do I want to put this out there? Because I feel like I'm writing it from the perspective of like, here's a guy who knows he's kind of like acting like a jackass in the song, right? And then it feels good to get that out in the moment, but then when it comes to actually putting it out, I'm like, is that really the best reflection of my character? Do I want to be, are people going to get that this is supposed to be like, I don't do that stuff anymore kind of thing? Or I don't know. Even just I get that way about most songs I make though, because it's always, for me, it comes from a place of, I feel this terrible feeling about myself. I want to expunge it into a song, and then when it comes to actually putting it out, I'm like, do I really want people to hear this? I don't know.
But how much movement can you have writing things that are just comfortable?
Oh yeah, no, that's the price you pay to make something honest.
It's also it's honest, but it's also educational. Like allowing people, first of all, to hear a song that is really well done and took time and passion and energy to put into it to make, but also has like these contradicting feelings of who you are.
Right.
That's what this is all about. You got to walk that line. You gotta sometimes you understand where it's coming from.
Right.
People will follow,
Yeah. If it's honest, everyone will know. I guess I used to always be caught up in this thing of like, I guess before I was liking the music I would make and I was unsure of what I liked, I'd be like, oh, someone will like this. But that's not true. Like, if I don't like it, no one's going to like it. But then if I do like it, chances are some people will, you know?
Yeah, well, and as long as you do, there's a million of you out there. And as far as, obviously, there's not a million,
People like me. Yeah.
And people who need the guidance from a perspective that has already been followed, a path that's already been, having that is so important. And you can write about a happy song about your great relationship and the greatest day in your life, and somebody could still hear it and be like, wow, what a sad fucking song, because they take it out of the energy that they're holding at that time.
Right. And that's the whole thing, is you're channeling something when you make music, and the words can mean whatever, but you're tapping into something universal. And so if people connect to that, they're going to connect to that in their own way. And I like to play with that, like in my lyrics, especially in this project that I'm about to release, like that's 2 a.m. on it and super in love. It's all of these super hyper specific lyrics, and my kind of guiding force going through this was no metaphors, no nothing. Just say exactly what happened.
Yeah, be straight up.
Just be straight up. Don't even have to rhyme. Just say it. Because I figured that's the only way I could get the honest feeling out, right? So if I can express that, someone will relate to this, at least in sentiment, even if they're not exactly, if they've never had the exact experience at IKEA, like I'm talking about in 2 a.m., they're going to relate to it in some way. And so, yeah, I liked playing with that because I was so tired of just hearing songs. I've always been tired of hearing really generic songs that could apply to any situation, because if they're too broad, I feel like it doesn't mean anything, But I liked thinking of a song, at least in this era of writing music, as a Mad Lib or something. Like, write about something that you kind of never heard about before. Use words you never hear in songs, and beat people over the head with it. Like, make this really intense and honest and kind of embarrassing. Like, I want to say this thing so that I never have to live it again. Because once it's on record, if I ever catch myself like behaving in a way that I'm complaining about in a song, I can have the song kind of holds me accountable.
Yeah, bring solace to a situation that hopefully you don't have to face again. Yes. But also, if you do, now you have this path. You built yourself foundation. And that's huge. Having that lighthouse to always find, to understand where home is again. Yeah. You're allowed to drift. You're supposed to drift. That's
scary though. I think of it like an astronaut. Like, you see how far the tether can go before it snaps.
Yeah, but allowing that tether to get a little close sometimes is so necessary to the craft. Like, our job isn't to be connectable, it's to be honest, and people will find connection in that. And I guess that's a little broad too, because everybody's got their own version of this. Bless you, Luna.
Bless you, Luna.
Everybody's got their own version, and I can't knock it because it's true to them, hopefully. But I feel like generic lyrics come from two places. One, they come from the beginning of growth, and hopefully after that, if you're writing from a place of honesty and it feels too generic, hopefully that's something that you can grow into and grow out of, and grow past. Or it's coming from a place of, I want to connect with everybody, but then how do you connect yourself,
right. And I guess generic isn't even the right word for it then, because I think some of the most beautiful songs are so simple and to the point, and I guess it's more like they could go a little deeper, Yeah. You could dig a little further.
But simple and generic are two totally different things.
That's true.
I feel like simple's hard. Generic is obvious.
Right.
Simple is this thing where it's like, how do I get this idea that means so much to me and make it connectable to more people?
Right.
Versus, how do I connect with more people and write from just that perspective? Like,
yeah, I think it's kind of a misunderstanding of what people relate to. At least this is my experience, but I'm not relating to songs literally. Like, it's not, this person saying that they feel sad is not what makes me feel sad. I always think like the narrator of the song, you can learn a lot more about how they're feeling by the choice of words they use rather than the actual way they're strung together. Or someone saying I'm sad to me won't make me feel sad, but it'll make me think, oh, this person doesn't have too deep of feelings. That's actually an interesting thing to explore, if that's the point of it, That's a weird example. I just tried making up something on the spot. But
I feel you. The goal here is to provoke emotion and provoke thought in whatever way that comes. And sometimes having these kind of obscure ways of going about it that's the vehicle.
Right.
And that's a necessity to that moment. And it's why I love comedians. If you take everything a comedian says word for word, you don't get the point. You know, sometimes they have to say the fucking terrible, crazy things in order to put it out there and allow people to realize how terrible and weird it is. You have to hear it out loud.
Right.
And that's part of this. That's part of this weird fucking intersection of reality and creativity. Yeah. And it's a weird one, and it's really easy to get lost in. But I feel like having this ability to connect with yourself allows the ability to connect with other people. When some people are looking to connect with other people and then no longer can connect with themselves.
I mean, that comes back to what we were talking about with the character building aspect of it too. It's got to all be grounded somewhere. You can't buy into the fantasy of, at least this is what I've learned, you know, what you are sold the life of being a musician is not really what it is, at least in my experience, you know. And trying to chase that version of it leads to unhappiness for me. But that's literally what the EP is about. It's me moving to LA thinking it'll be one thing, coming here and kind of doing what I set out to do, like to the T, and being like, oh, this sucks. Like, this is not what I thought or real, you know? Like, being this guy that, I don't know, I had this idea that I would move to LA, have no responsibilities except making music, live in a garage. Yeah. Everything would take care of itself once I became a rich and famous musician, and I would just party and hook up with girls. But then I started doing these, or I was on the track to doing these things like I had set out to, and I'm like, no, this is like, I'm like really trying to live the movies right now. Like, this is not a real thing. But then I found, okay, now I'm in this position where I've set my life up to be these habits, and I live in a garage, and I have no money, and I've gotten myself into all this debt to do this thing for what? To live out some weird childish fantasy. And then, yeah, that was just where I found myself sick of it. It was just sick of that situation. And then that's where all these songs kind of came through. Just, how did I accidentally become the worst version of myself in pursuit of what should be kind of a noble goal?
Man, dichotomy is the mother of invention. You know, having that yin to the yang is so important, because I feel like our job is almost like this public servant to go through the bullshit so we can explain to people how they can get through it, or at least letting them understand that it is possible when that shit comes. We are the experiment. We are this weird fucking
like the
that was the whole goal. Is everybody moving out here is that they don't know what it is. They don't know what it's going to be. They understand what their thesis is. They understand what they think it will come out to based off of prior experience and prior knowledge. But how many people move out here and it goes the way they thought it would? I'm not saying
it's going to go the exact opposite.
And sometimes, I'd say most of the time, that's probably the necessity. That's built in because you have to have understanding. You're not going to appreciate the gig of 50 people if you haven't done a gig of 10. Yeah. And you're not going to appreciate the gig of 50,000 people if you haven't done the gig of 10,000.
Oh, yeah. That's why I feel like the pressure for people that blew up on the internet over COVID and then have to, I shouldn't say have to, get to play a show for thousands of people, but it's their first show. Oh, my God. That must be... Yeah. You got to go through the bullshit. Like, I loved when I was in my band, I didn't take my internship over one summer. I shaved my head. I was like, fuck school. I'm gonna do this band thing. And we would play so many shows just to no one. We just play open mics at these bars, and it was the funnest time because it was just good. Being new, right? That's right after I decided, oh yeah, I'm really not as good at this as I think. As soon as I admitted that I was bad, then you could finally start getting good, right? So yeah, I was still playing my old Epiphone SG, just power chord G.
Absolutely.
Every show, and with my buzz cut, it was so much fun to be there doing it. That's like the heart of what it is, right? You're just trying a new thing, and it builds into whatever it ends up being. But yeah, I miss those days. We forget
that the fucking rock stars that we grew up wanting to be, we only saw the moments of success. We didn't see the 99% where they were in their room fucking shooting up because they hated their life, or where they couldn't keep a stable relationship, but yet they would get on stage and everybody goes, I want to be you. No, you fucking don't. You don't understand how sad and lonely so many people's lives are but it's so easy to make it look glamorous and pretty when you only take pictures or videos of the 1%. You know,
Right.
it's like Instagram, it's like TikTok, it's like all these social medias. You see people. I just read some quote a couple of days ago, and they were saying how like a large percentage of the people who post pictures with their significant other every day have shorter relationships than people who don't feel like they have to show it off. And it makes
Right.
so much sense.
I mean, it's that way about anything. I have this weird motto that is probably too far to the extreme to be honest, or not honest, but truthful. But what I think is anyone who goes out of their way to tell you something about themselves, that thing is probably not true.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you ask someone and they give you an answer, that's, but that's probably true. But people that are like, I don't put up a bullshit.
Yeah.
No, you're the kind of person that does put up it. You just feel.
Or you bring the bullshit.
You bring it.
Yeah.
But I feel like, it's like that thing. See, if you're always feeling the need to post about something on social media, it probably means you're overcompensating for your lack of confidence in that thing.
People talking the most are doing the least. And
That's
that was me,
true.
dude. That was me to a fucking
Everyone does
T.
do it. Yeah.
And you
I love talking.
You get to this point where you start meeting people who found success, but you wouldn't know it unless you ask.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you're
That's
like,
it.
oh, they're focusing on life. And when they're with you, they're not focusing on the business relationship. They're focusing on the relationship.
Right.
They're focusing on the time they get to spend with you and with themselves and with their family. And that's kind of what this is all about. It's keep your head down for half as long as you're keeping your head up, you know?
Right. It's like the 2 ears versus 1 mouth quote, you know? So you listen twice as much as you speak or something.
Yeah.
But I like to talk a lot. So
Oh, dude, I got a podcast for that reason.
I like to let out this. I feel like I can't really think straight unless I'm saying it out loud, you know?
Yeah.
So I do my best thinking when I'm, probably at the dismay of my friends, just talking their ear off. But
But that's
what therapy's for.
That's why I started this, is I realized one of my favorite parts about music is when the music isn't being made. It's that hour before the session. It's that time when you're sitting at a party talking to somebody and that connection happens and before the session happens, you know? That, like what you were talking about earlier, your song, you were saying how it's kind of a version of yourself that you want to remind yourself not to be again.
Yeah.
This gives, the reason I made this is I wanted to give people the opportunity to understand from the eyes of a musician, the eyes of an artist, the eyes of a producer, whatever, the songwriter, that we are writing about life experiences, whether we're excited about them or not. And sometimes the ones that we're not excited about are the ones that need to be written about the most.
Right. And even the way I relate to that is not even excited necessarily, because like there's some things that jump out to you, like, oh, that's an obvious thing to write a song about or something. Love or work. I don't know. Those are things that always jump out to me. But lately, like, I've been starting to think of what are little sneaky things you can write a song about that wouldn't necessarily excite me. But I guess I've been at the point now where the things that used to excite me to write about just aren't anymore. So now I've been really into writing about, like, this is the first time I've seen this person in 4 years. And that's a whole song topic in and of itself. That's not even really anything super romantic, but finding the romance in the little things is super cool. I wrote a song about a jet ski the other day. And I've written a jet ski like 3 times, but that's like one of my favorite songs I've ever written.
But having those experiences where you're allowing yourself to write from the perspective of now and understand that tomorrow this is not going to be the same perspective, that doesn't mean that it doesn't give validity to the moment I was in.
Right.
You know, if you're the same person you were yesterday, then that means that you took advantage of situations where you could have grown. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's walking into a room and realizing, hey, I'm anxious. I think everybody's staring at me and judging me but then you go into that room the next time you realize, oh wait, everybody's feeling the same fucking thing. They think you're staring at them and judging them. Everybody. And if they are judging you, it's coming from a place of internal fucking suicide. They are nervous. They are scared. They are this, they are that. And having those experiences only allows you to grow from those. Right. You know, you have to have the fucking bullshit to understand what beauty looks like.
It's true. And like, I'm always craving things to be easy or fun. And I want those days where I feel really on top of the world, but that's boring.
That's
ultimately. Boring. I always crave it. And then it happens and I'm like, all right, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's get something else in here.
I feel like you know when you're doing the right move when you're fucking 20 degrees away from your dream. Because if your dream is always this perspective of now, but the more you go through this, the more you grow, you realize your dream's a little bit different, and it's going to sway. And this industry and art in general is an industry of people who are trying to follow the dream they made when they were 10 years old, whether it is accurate to who they are now or not. And that
cool.
changes and that grows and that fucking forms into this new objective. And that is how it should be. You know, you should have, if you give yourself too many guidelines, then you're never going to go see the things that you weren't comfortable with, which will become your favorite food and your favorite place and your favorite person.
You have to go try the new thing to find out. Yeah, it's like a trial by error, more so. Yeah.
How many people do you hear be like, oh, I fucking hated this person in high school, and then 2 years later they're like, oh, we ended up talking and we're best friends now.
Right.
And it's like, wait, I saw you guys try to beat the shit out of each other, or I saw you guys make up rumors or tell each other the most terrible things. But sometimes having these extremes brings together, you know, situations or people or ideas in a way that maybe aren't going to be valid without the true dichotomy. You know, you have to, when you see somebody's worst, you understand what the worst looks like. But then when you see their best, that's just as important. And that comes
like
out
actually
in time.
getting to know someone
And
versus
allowing them to grow.
level.
You know, could you imagine somebody walking in who hasn't seen you since your freshman year of high school and being like, yo, why the fuck are you wearing a hat and have long hair and ripped jeans? You didn't wear that in high school. No fucking shit. It's been fucking, I don't know how long it's been for you, but for me, it's 14 years, something like that. And it's just like, if I was the same person, then I did not take advantage of the lessons that I've been given in my life.
Right. I think that's like the biggest fear of mine is reverting or something. Not because I hate the old version of myself. Maybe that's kind of what I think about. But if I really dig deep into that, I just want there to always be forward growth.
Well, you understand that you conquered those situations already, and you're allowing yourself to move on. And sometimes those are going to come back up in
Which
new
is what
forms.
cringe, what we were talking about earlier. It's like cringe is a good thing because when you're cringing at an old thing you did, that means you learned not to do that again.
Oh man, I have videos of me on the first fucking iMovie or whatever it is, photo booth. And it's just videos of me like talking and like joking around and stuff. And I look at it now and I'm like, it makes me want to throw up.
Oh yeah, vomit.
But understanding those situations is going to make me never do that again. It's also I'm not a 15-year-old kid anymore. Like you're allowed to grow. You're allowed to become new. And look at every musician who's made it a 30, 40-year career. None of them sound the same as when they started. Everybody hates that switch. But your job isn't to please the people. It's to show them what is next.
Yeah.
Not to show them what was.
Well, that's always been how I've liked my bands. I've liked my bands being different every album, you know? Like my favorite band growing up was Brand New, and every album of theirs is so different, right?
Brand New.
I've actually never even thought about that. But that's what I'm doing. I'm like, my next project, I'm like, I never want to do the pop punk thing ever again.
Yeah.
It's just going to be...
And I guarantee you're going to come back in some version that's going to feel new and successful and honest to you, in a way where it's not going to be the same thing, but you're going to get these elements that have become who you are.
Right.
That are going to reform.
Yeah. Like the things you make stick with you, you know, and you can't necessarily run away from them. They're going to, what I learned by exploring the sounds I did in this genre and this EP I made, they're like internalized now, you know, but instead of having to strive for doing that in this next series of songs I make, it's like I already know how to do that. So that just comes out of me naturally. Now when I explore new stuff, it's like, oh, here's this new... All my songs have like banjos in them now, right? But it's like... It still sounds like me, right?
Man, I want to hear that so bad.
Oh, it's so sick.
Once we shut this off, can I hear a few songs?
Yeah, I'll show you. I've been doing this like... I've been really into... I got really into like John Denver and...
Oh man,
like,
I grew up on that.
Yeah, like Tyler Childers and stuff. Like all this stuff is... I'm like, this is just emo music. This is just... like Pine Grove. You like Pine Grove?
Yeah. Oh, dude, so my buddy Mikey Ferrari just got me into Pine Grove, and holy shit, sick. Dude, it's changed my perspective. It's so honest and organic, and it gives me that feel of Motown, where you feel like there's a bunch of people who love each other in a room making music.
But it's also like, how the fuck is he thinking of those word choices? And also, I love his like country twang. It's so cool. So cool to me.
Yeah.
And also it just feels, I love how a lot of their songs have really cool sound design. Like I listen to Old Friends. It sounds like they're recording it in like a bathroom or something. It sounds so good.
It's got that tile feel to it.
Yeah. But it's like clearly a band and doing it at an amazingly high level, right? But it just feels so natural to me. I love that, just that feel. And So I was like, I could do this. And so, yeah, I've been really burnt out with the like angsty kind of feel. So I've been writing all my songs
It's because you've
from
done it.
that lens. Yeah, I'm over it. I don't
beat
feel
it.
that
You
way about my
conquered it.
life anymore. I feel too happy about my life lately to like write with such ferocity.
Man.
And I'm referencing stuff that's not even out yet. The stuff that's out right now is a little lighter, like Super in Love, and 2 AM even is not super ferocious, but I go pretty in on this EP.
Dichotomy is
So-
the mother of convention.
But now I'm writing emo country.
Dude,
It's
I
so
can't
cool.
wait to hear this.
Dude, I'm telling you, emo country song about a jet ski. I'll show you it after this.
Dude,
It's so
I'm
cool.
excited to hear it. I'm already a fan. I was a fan of your music, but now meeting you has been such a fucking pleasure. This has been such
Appreciate
a blast of a conversation, and
Yeah. Been
it's
fun.
made me think, and it's in the same way. This is a reminder of why I do what I do and why I love what I do
Oh, yeah,
and the
thank you.
people I meet. Yeah, dude, I'm such a big fan. I hope we do many, many more of these. You have an
I'm
open
down to come
invite.
by. We should just jam one day. I'd love to bang on these drums.
Let's fucking turn these cameras off and make that happen right now.
Let's do it.
Dude, I'm such a big fan. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah,
and
check
what
me
to
out.
expect.
I'm Max Bennett Kelly on everything. I got an EP Junk Mail coming out or out as you're listening to this. Junk Mail's also got an accompanying short film. It's a whole bunch of stuff with it. So
badass.
there's a lot of shit to see going forward. So check it out. Thanks for
2
listening.
a.m. comes out.
2 AM comes out May 11th. So yeah, get in your feels. It's all acoustic, baby. Me, Lil Aaron, Dan Garrity. We're making this.
Lil Aaron's on it?
Yeah, he's the singer in the background. He's like
I
screaming.
didn't realize.
Yeah, we wrote it together. Yeah, with
Crazy.
Dan.
Oh, what a
Yeah.
small world.
Crazy, right?
Man, I love it. I'm a
Check it
fan. Everybody go check it out. Go stream it out. Stream it up.
Thanks for having me. You're the best. This is
Oh,
dope.
dude, of course. To many more, and I'm excited for this friendship and this
yeah, dude.
conversation and what comes further. Thank you,
Me
brother.
too.
Thank you to a fantastic
brother.
conversation. Thank you, Luna, over there, for
Oh yeah, keep
being
me
calm
company.
and passing out.
I forgot she was there. She's so chill.
Dude, it's unreal.
Cool.
And thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Check this man out. And to everybody listening,
I am Max Bennett Kelly, and this is an experiment.
yeah, it is. Love you guys. Take care, brother.
The experience is the experiment.